Welcome to Judgment Day. The Paladin has arrived. 2 hours to level 60 and another 2 hours already at Paragon 100 and Torment 3 while dealing 10s, 20, 30, 78 millions of damage. Let me break down how to level your Paladin and also how to then transition into the Torment tiers and fly through them with maximum damage. Our Paladin is using 2 skills for main damage. We get our basic skill Holy Bolt. Throw a hammer dealing 5000 damage. This applies Judgment and it ricochets 3 times. The reason I'm using it is quite simple, because it's ranged and my core skill is also ranged. Now, what is Judgment? Judgment marks an enemy for 3 seconds, dealing 80% damage after it expires, or if you explode it. And Judgment can be exploded by your core skills, which creates a simple gameplay loop of having our Spear of the Heavens as damage dealing skill. Boom, everything just dies, 212 million. Plus then our basic attack to put Judgment on them. And then we're going to basic attack, Spear of Heavens, Spear of Heavens, basic attack, Spear of Heavens, Spear of Heavens. And that just clears out everything and works very well against bosses as well. In the meantime, our other skills are 3 auras that are passively empowering everything we do. More defense, more attack speed, more critical strike damage, everything. And then we get the skill called Heaven's Fury with a 10-second cooldown. Yep, that's it. And Heaven's Fury is pretty much our I nuke everything card. Let's wait for the cooldown to be up. Everything died from the Judgment. Pull things together. Heaven's Fury, it comes down, boop, 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 just lasers them all, and then it explodes for even more damage. And as you can imagine, against bosses, you can pretty much spam this, especially since using your auras will reduce your cooldowns. Now, before we go over every single skill and how to spend them while leveling, the Paladin has another cool thing, and those are his Oath, his specialization. He can be a Zealot, Juggernaut, Disciple, or Adjudicator. Your basic skill now apply Judgment. Okay, my hammer does this anyways, which means you could technically use any basic skill you want if there's something you like rather. For example, the Clash actually gives you Resolve. However, it's a close range skill, and since I use 2 range skills, it feels better with a Holy Bolt. You also have the Advance, which gives you Unhindered, very useful, and you could technically use the Brandish to apply Vulnerable. Furthermore, Judgment can now be detonated early by your core Judicator skills, dealing 250% weapon damage in a small area and gaining the Judicator skill benefits. Each time you judge an enemy, increase the damage they take from you by 8% up to 80% until they die. Now you might understand a little bit more how enemies are just popping for this millions of damage as we're going through, because the hammer applies the Judgment, and then the Spear of the Heavens, bam, consumes that Judgment to go for the explosions. And we're even spreading these Judgments further to everyone. For example, this aspect that I don't know how to pronounce. Judicator skills have a 40% chance to chain to a close enemy for 150% of their damage. If no enemy is within range, damage the initial target instead. Plus, we're increasing the Judgment damage by 150%, and Judgment detonations can detonate other Judgments early. Then we get the unique ring, Seal of the Second Trumpet, which gives our Judgment 250% increased damage, plus then 33% chance to trigger twice, and the chance for Judgment to deal double damage. On the gloves, we have Holy and Fire damage increased damage, and, well, the Spear of the Heavens is Holy damage. Plus, lastly, the Judicator aspect says increase the damage of size of Judgment explosions. That's an absolute crazy amount of damage going off together. And it leads to you not really having a single issue at any given point. The 3 auras we're using are the Fanatism aura, together with Defiance and also Holy Light. Fanatism gives you attack speed and critical strike chance stacking up 4 times. Plus, it increases your critical strike damage by 15%, and if we crit strike, we trigger Fanatism. The Defiance aura gives us 42% armor and 42% resistance, plus 10% more max life. And Holy Light aura damages enemies around us continuously, plus the enhanced Holy Light targets even more enemies. The Spear of Heavens, our current core skill, gets turned into a core skill with Fist of Heavens. This now allows us to spam it away, otherwise it has a cooldown. Now for leveling, the skill tree is actually exactly the same. We go for our Holy Bolt, we have a Ricochet, then we get the 3 auras, each with double point and single point, not a single point in the middle part. And then we wouldn't actually pick the Spear of Heavens, because all the Spear of Heaven points would first be under Blessed Shield. Blessed Shield is simply better for leveling, because Blessed Shield says, deals 1% additional damage for each armor the shield has. That's kind of nice. And Blessed Shield detonates Judgment and ricochets 5 additional times, Whenever Blessed Shield detonates Judgment, it empowers your next throw to deal 40% increased damage up to a maximum of 5 times. Very amazing, very, very good skill to play, especially since it only costs 25 faith. However, in Torment 1, from Lord Zur, I got Cathedral Song. This also dropped from Gregoire. Lucky hit, cast Disciple skills have up to a 10% chance to call down a Spear of Heavens on a random enemy. Okay, I don't use any single Disciple skill. That's kind of sad. However, your Spear of Heavens damage is increased by 94%. What? More ranks to Spear of Heavens and chance for Spear of Heavens to deal double damage. This means we got the spammy Spear of Heavens for massive damage, 100% increase. That explodes our judgments because it's now a core skill, and that works very well with the Judicator stuff that we're doing. Interesting enough, we could take the ricocheting bolt off the hammer, the Holy Bolt, and actually turn it into a Disciple skill. So now it's a basic Disciple skill that still applies judgment, and therefore also has the chance to give us more Spear of the Heavens. Our last skill we choose is Heaven's Fury. It grabs the light, dealing 7,000 damage around you per second before releasing it to seek nearby enemies. It's a laser beam that comes down and destroys everything close to you, that then also judges enemies. And the more judgment happens, the more damage I'm stacking. Now you have 3 choices. You can either turn it into orbiting beams, or into 3 beams that are hunting enemies, and or that cast that comes down from wherever you want it to be with a gigantic eruption at the end. The final justice I now like to take for the pit and also for lair bosses. However, the actual triplicate is better for overworld content. If I go onto Helltides or whatsoever, triplicate is king. Lastly, our key passive is Judgment Day. Consumed Judgment increases your damage by 6% for 5 seconds up to 90%. Judgment now spreads to nearby targets without Judgment when it detonates. And that's where the crazy propagating of damage comes from. Start with Spear of Heavens, throw your hammer, put some Judgment down. The first Judgment gets exploded, then spreads to everyone around, right? Then you explode the Judgment again, spreads to everyone around, and then with your next Spear of Heavens, we explode the Judgment again. And this is like these millions of damage that then just go out and destroy everyone. It's too good. Like, see, like, I don't even have to be close to them because they die, and everyone that's even remotely in their range gets that Judgment spread over to them to then go further and further. And you can imagine that in the Helltide, right? See, like, these guys back here, they just died because the Judgment jumped to them, and then the Judgment exploded, and then we win. It makes clearing so easy. You don't even need a travel skill to go forward, right? You just go in, gotta make sure to have your faith up, and everything just dies so simple. And this is with 3 Paragon boards on. Glyphs level 15, not 45, right? We just barely get a weapon with some quality, not even pinnacle out, right? My shield is not greater affix. There is so much more damage potential. The passives were a bit trickier. We took 30% more armor. This will make sense with the Paragon board. And then damage as we block, because we're actually playing a shield. So damage as we block kind of makes sense. Then we also have core skills deal 18% more damage. We don't need heal or any kind of fortify. Same goes here, nothing is needed. Then we get 18% more damage versus vulnerable enemies because we make them vulnerable, and 12% cooldown reduction, fire. This leads us into 80% crit damage, then 2% crit chance and 5% damage against weakened enemies in case we actually trigger the aura, which we rarely do. Followed up with heavyweight for 18% increased critical strike damage while healthy. With 3 ranks for increased damage to holy and fire, this is holy, plus another 9 lucky hit chance for my helmet. I'll talk about that in a second. Then we get Heaven's Fury with the triplicate, and here we get more damage if we have a unique shield, and more armor again, according to my block chance. The helmet I'm wearing is the Judicant's Glaive Helm that I got at level 30. Lucky hit, Judicator skills have up to a 40% chance to call down a Blessed Spear that carries a Judgment mark and deals Judgment damage on impact. Aha! Just randomly spamming my Spear, my Heaven's Fury, my Holy Light. All of these have a chance to get me more Blessed Spears that will do Judgment, and then more Judgment damage. And chance to deal double damage with Judgment, chance to deal double damage with Judgment, chance to deal double damage with Judgment Temper. 100% without even trying. And all Judicator skills get 1 rank bonus. With the Spear, my main damage skill, if I actually get this as a 800 greater affixed item, that's +2, that's +3. The shield itself can have +4, +6, +8 if I masterwork it. Hot damn, Chan. We're going to work on that 100% Heaven Spear double damage while the Judgment is going off the charts. And our chest piece is playing Judging an enemy grants you 66 increased armor for 5 seconds. Now, why is this so insane? Because your first Paragon node you're going to take is Castle. You deal increased damage equal to 2% of your armor. Right now I'm sitting at 358% bonus damage. That's without the bonus armor triggering the 100% bonus armor if I judge an enemy. That's without me having armor on every single piece. That's without me having tempered armor, right? So I can get so much more armor. The second node is equally amazing. Sentencing. Judging an enemy causes them to take 90% more damage from you until they die. Okay, so we got already 700% damage here. Then we get 90% damage there. The next one says Relentless. While moving and for 2 seconds after, you deal 80% increased damage and have 30% cooldown reduction. And I pretty much go for hammer, spear, hammer, spear, hammer, spear, hammer, spear, spear, hammer, spear, spear. It's like a stutter step gameplay that gets you forward and therefore always have that 80% on the cooldown reduction. My Heaven's Fury is 11.49 seconds, and I can get this down to 10 seconds if I now masterwork the ring further with Heaven's Fury cooldown reduction as a greater affix. Ladies and gentlemen, we're sitting at a 7 seconds Heaven's Fury, and it takes 7 seconds to trigger, so we're going to be like Heaven's Fury, Heaven's Fury, Heaven's Fury, Heaven's Fury, Heaven's Fury. Hell, I'm even thinking about playing the Resplendence glyph in one of my boards. After casting an aura skill, the active cooldown of every non-aura skill is reduced by 2 seconds. Boom, crazy. Right now we get Spirit and Honed Socketed. This is critical strike damage and critical strike damage with critical strike damage multipliers and Spirit Restoration. The full Paragon board with the right pathing I'll have on the planner below. What we haven't talked about is the aspect of my pants, which is the wrong one. Since we get a defensive judgment skill as well, called Aspect of Light's Mending, consuming judgment has a 10% chance to restore 2% of your maximum life to you and nearby allies. However, you could also take Dazzling Light. The first time you apply judgment to an enemy, you daze them for 3 seconds. The problem is that's the first time you do judgment to them in only 3 seconds. Works for pushing through things, but doesn't really work for killing bosses. Lastly, on our boots, we can run the Aspect of Holy Cadence, which says when judgment detonates, you gain 47% increased movement speed for 8 seconds. If you're struggling with defense though, you can put on Aspect of Might too for just that 20% damage reduction. And since we're always using our Holy Bolt for that judgment, vulnerable, and the disciple skills to actually trigger my Cathedral song, it works plenty good. One thing you have to look out for is getting faith per second on your gear. This should have faith per second, and this should also have faith per second. Because your spear do cost 31. And right now with all my faith per second, I'm sitting at 10 to 11 faith per second in combat. If I had this greater affix now and masterworked, we would around have 20 faith per second, which really allows me to spam away the Spear of Heavens with less Holy Bolt use. So it would be 1 Holy Bolt, 3 Spears Heavens, 1 Holy Bolt, 3 Spears Heavens, while we're stutter stepping forward. That makes perfect sense. Now in order to develop the build further, I have to play more. But that's already my easy leveling and tier 3 destruction build. I started in normal, went over to penitent without breaking a sweat. It was crazy. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Does it look good for you? And I'm going to also link you the level stream as it was just so quick and you can easily follow up. Plus, there's the planner in the description. Take care.